Hi and welcome. My name is Ali Hart and I am the host of this podcast, and you're listening and watching How to Build a Creative Business in a Noisy World. I really hope you enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to, this is our last one of the Hindsight series for now. I'm kind of parking it for a little bit while we take a little bit of a hiatus, isn't that what they call it, I think? But today I have Lisa McFarland. It's McFarland, isn't it? Yeah, you only think Lisa, the relationship coach, is how I know her. But I'll be able to introduce her or let her introduce herself in a second. But for now, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving up your time to be a part of the podcast and the vlogcast. And I hope that you enjoy the episode. So, hi, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. And thank you so much for having me. I feel very special being the last one of the series. That's great.
Yeah, it's great. And can you then, so I was just saying there before we got on air, I can't wait to get into sort of nitty and gritty of relationships, because I know it just oozes out of you, the excitement and how you're steeped in it. You're a relationship coach, but can you tell us a little bit about, can you summarize that to begin with?
Okay. I'm a relationship coach. I coach couples. My favorite couples to coach are couples who are in love and they've just lost their way slightly, or something's come up for them and they've hit a hurdle that they don't have the tools to get over, which is what happened with my husband and I. And I just love to coach couples. And my dream would be that people would come to couples coaching before the wheels fall off, before it gets to that stage. And my mission stroke dream is to make couples coaching and educating ourselves around relationships a normal thing. Take away the shame and the guilt, make it a normal thing that, oh yeah, I'm going to a webinar about relationships. Just make that a normal thing, that it's not, oh, have you heard about them? They're in trouble because they're having to go and learn about relationships. We need to know how to have healthy relationships. When I say it out, no, it's not, it sounds insane to me now on this side of the journey that we're not taught to have good relationships. Firstly, with ourselves. Knowing, loving, accepting ourselves, knowing our divine spark, celebrating that, knowing our enoughness, and then bringing that to other people, our loved ones, our partner, all the things.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm already excited because and I was speaking yesterday to Owen Crane, actually. He'll be launching just before yours. And we were just talking about in education and how, I don't know how the world has got to this stage where academia and celebrating success is like ticking boxes rather than this, like someone totally being in tune with themselves and letting creativity go. And even I see it in my boys, they're not all the same. And then I suppose you can stretch that into business as well. For me, like when you know yourself really well, you can actually have a strong business, because I am the business. But I look forward to getting into all of that. Can you tell us then a bit how you got to here? Because you have a really interesting story about even the pandemic, and this is the Hindsight series. So it's about looking back a little bit. So can you tell me that?
Yes, I can. So I had a different life before lockdown. My husband and I, we look after people with learning disability, and I'm HR over there. So whenever we went to lockdown, I was at home a lot more. My children are teenagers, but still needed me. And it was a scary time and we wanted to support each other. So the decision was made that I would stay at home as much as I could. And remember at the start, they told us it would be 2 weeks.
That's right.
So I was like, right, that's fine. I can do 2 weeks in the house with the children. They were 18, 17 and 12 at that time. I was like, I'll do this. I'll support them emotionally and I'll just check in at work via Zoom and things. But just prior to that, at the beginning of 2020, I had started little classes in my local community centre to help women with their confidence, their communication and their conflict.
Okay.
Because
CCC.
I had Yeah. 3 days.
Okay.
So I had been doing that in our work. I had been running classes in our work for our 50 odd employees. And I thought, this is going down really well. I had finished my life coaching training, and I thought, well, I could do this. And then I thought, right, okay, I'm going to try and do it in my local area. I was terrified, but so lit up, was so excited as well. Terrified, so excited. And then lockdown came. So that dream was gone. My little mini side hustle that was going to be my little thing for when my big girls were leaving to go to uni and I would have a lovely wee thing for me was dead in the water.
Yeah.
So the announcement came, and I know, because I'm a life coach, that I have to give myself purpose. I have to give myself purpose every day. I'm also, well, I say I'm a lazy person. Nigel, my husband, says, how could you even, I like my sleep, Ali. I like my sleep.
Okay.
I'm not great at, like, I'm not one of these 6 o'clock in the morning people. No, I'm like, no, not one of those people. So I knew my teenager would be lying on till 11. I knew if I didn't give myself purpose, I would be lying around in my jammies, and that would take me down a place where we don't need to go. So I got on Instagram and I said, I will be on Instagram every morning at 10 o'clock because I'm a life coach and I'm meant to know how to do these things. And I'm struggling right now. So I'm going to get on every morning at 10 to help you guys. If one person shows up, sure, that's helping one person. But that one person was me. It was to give me purpose. So it just started rolling. I thought, sure, I could talk for 14 days, for 20 minutes for 14 days. That's easy peasy. I did 57 in a row.
Consecutive, right? Wow.
Yeah. Well, I had to stop the weekend.
That's a streak. You call that
yeah.
57
I think I did 28. And then Nigel, my friend.
10 o'clock?
Okay, at 10 o'clock every day. And Nigel and my friends were like, okay, sweetheart, I think this is going to be going on for a while now. So maybe keep the weekends off. And I was like, fine, okay. But it gave me purpose. I started getting wonderful messages. And then I didn't know there were influencers. I didn't know about those people, but then they heard me. Sinead Haig was one of them. And she has been so good to me and shouts me out, and my numbers just kept going up. So I think the first day of lockdown was the 24th of March, and 7 people watched. They were my friends. And by the end,
everyone starts. It's I always tell my mentoring students, like you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And by the end, over 1,000 people were watching every morning.
Brilliant. Good. So that's basically a year though, isn't it? So what about you, Lisa? You mentioned there, so you're married and have 3 kids. And then where did you grow up, or where did schooling start for you, if you want to touch on anything like that?
Yeah. I have huge imposter syndrome. My little logo is just a thought, because when I started the page, relationship coaching page, I started that in May 2019 because people were really sick listening to me banging on about it, and my friends and family and co-workers were like, why don't you just start a wee page? In other words, go and tell them. Stop boring us about it. We know now. So I had huge imposter syndrome because I failed my 11 plus. I did okay in my GCSEs, went to tech, did 2 years of childcare, loved it, and worked in childcare for a long time and loved it. And I'm good with kids. But whenever I started going on to the page in May 2019, I ended on so I did little videos, little 7-minute videos, but I ended them all with just a thought, because it was just my thoughts. I didn't want anybody to be like, oh, Lisa McFarland says to do this, so we must do it. It was just my thoughts. I just kept me a wee bit safe. It kept my imposter syndrome sort of calmed down. So that was huge for me. Glengormley, I'm from Glengormley originally, went to Glengormley High, and then went to Robert Stanley to go to tech. And then Nigel and I went and lived away for a few years.
Yes. Where were you?
So my brother's in California. So we went just outside LA. So we went there. I often say that was like us going to university, because we went for 3.5 years. So that was, instead of going to university, we went to the school of, what is that? School of life. Yeah.
Whereabouts were you in California?
Just outside LA. It's Manhattan Beach. I worked in Manhattan Beach.
Okay. Yeah. Friends of ours are in Topanga. So like in the canyon.
Yes. Lovely. Beautiful.
Wow. So you're 3 years there.
3.5 years, yes. And I nannied for a girl time when I was there, and Nigel worked for my brother.
And this was pre-kids?
It's pre-kids. And then we were married by that stage. And then, the whole, okay, where are we going to have our babies conversation came up. and I loved living away, but yeah, home was home. Home was home.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine having babies without my mummy, I was just, so it was our time to play. And we came home then in, I'm hopeless with dates. I think 98, I think we came home. And then worked away, childcare. Nigel started his own business, and then babies started to happen. Not easy peasy for us, but we got her, we got the ball rolling eventually.
Brilliant. And it's really interesting too, because Michael and I, we loved to have gone away. So we just pushed doors to get to, it was New York at the time, or New Zealand. And we, for years and years, and then we had the boys and we're still trying. And just actually this year we were meant to go to New Zealand, to Auckland. But it's amazing because we moved house. So many things then happened because of the pandemic and all that. But it's really interesting how like you're so casual, went there for 3 years. So was it quite like, did you just decide one day you were going to go?
No, Nigel had been to, do you know the Ulster project?
Mm-hmm.
He had been to 2 of those when he was sort of 15 and 16. So he met people in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother had moved to California when I was 10. So I
Right.
probably always had, and we always went on holiday there. My
Yeah.
mum and I went, or my mum and I would have gone by ourselves if my dad was working. My dad's a minister, so
Uh-huh.
hard minister, so he would have been working quite a lot. So my mum and I would have went at Easter and things. So I suppose it was just, and then when Nigel and I started going out at 18, he mentioned this, that he'd love to spend some time there, maybe just a summer or something.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've always thought that I would go there for a little while. And I think we told our parents we were going for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did the whole, we'll just be a year, it's going to be our wee year out. And then we stayed for.
So 18. So it's really interesting for a relationship coach as well then. So yeah, you're well versed in being in a relationship.
Well, somebody said to me once in a podcast, why? And I said, because I have 31 years in the
Yeah, and you can always be an expert in the thing that you're steeped in. So tell me then about that. So when I actually feel now that's maybe where our paths have crossed a little bit before. Are you based in Bangor?
No, I'm here in Antrim.
Oh, you're in Antrim. Because young people with learning disabilities as well. I worked a lot with young people learning positive futures. So I'm wondering if we maybe our paths crossed.
Our paths crossed from Lee, my wellbeing pal. That's
yes.
where I saw you first. And then then we do have.
But I'm just wondering about years ago, whenever I was, and then I did a lot of work with supported living as well with young adults with learning disabilities. So people are obviously at the center of what you do, people and relationships. Can you then shed a little bit of light on what you think day to day, so inside your home, outside your home, the value of healthy relationships for you as for an individual?
Yeah. Well, relationships are everything. Mm-hmm. Apart from when you go for a walk, relationships are everything. And even that, you're probably thinking about the people who you're going to make the dinner for when you go back home. They're everything. It's everything. And why we do not get education on how to do them, I do not know. Well, I tell you a little bit about how I actually got into this madness. I mean, apart from the pandemic. So must be about 6 years ago now, because I keep saying 5 years, but we're a year more now.
So. No, there's a year that we all just sort of blurred out. Yeah, that pandemic year, yeah.
So I'll be 49 forever. So except I tell everybody I'm 43. On point, Lisa. So about 6 years ago, Nigel and I had a situation come up for us in our work. So we were Nigel and Lisa. We were totally in love. We were those guys, those annoying couple. And we had this situation come up for us in work, and I had my idea of how we should deal with it. Nigel had his idea of how we should deal with it, and they were nowhere near the same. Mm-hmm. And then we just fell into what I know now is our argument programming. So our pre-programming from childhood, from our family of origin, we just fell into those argument styles. So I'm a reformed huffer, and Nigel is a reforming defensive. So my MO is talk. When I don't get my way, huff. Nigel's MO is really try to say as little as you can, and then when you're attacked, become defensive. So really, it was just beautiful. And that's okay.
Sounds like my own house.
Yeah, and that's okay when you're dealing with little things. But this was quite a stressful situation. So it went on and we kept discussing it and arguing about it, and no raised voices. We're not shouters, but I could huff for days. Even when there's an apology, I can still manage to huff. It's horrendous. It's a horrendous quality. I'm working on it. So, and then our children started to say, are you two still talking about that? Why is it? All the things. So eventually I said, Nigel, I think we need to go and talk to somebody about this. I had been to counselling after my mum had passed. My mum had passed then a couple of years. She's passed now 8.5 years. So, blah, blah. So he was not keen on the idea, but we got there in the end. So we went to a girl, we went 3 times, and she just gave us tips and tools, simple things that we put in place, and it stopped. We just stopped. Just things like, okay, that is your work life. This is your home life. Have your arguments, have your discussions at work. End of. Do not bring it up when it's so simple, Alan. So simple. But when someone else that you're paying tells you to do it, you somehow or other do it. Other little things that she taught us about attachment styles, about what our love language was, about our family of origin, what we brought to it. And we were together since we were 18. So we'd not really had time to
come out of that mature. Yeah, that I know what you mean. We were the same, young, and you just sort of delve straight in, and you're just in it before you know, whenever you're married young, I think.
And she said to me one time, I said, well, then I just do this. And she says, what about you just don't? And I was like, what? That's an option? I just don't. I was just like, and I suddenly realized I'm still behaving like that 19-year-old girl who huffed because her boyfriend didn't ring her back, you know? So I just don't. Simple things. So then in conjunction with that, I was doing my life coaching course at the same time.
Okay.
So then the whole thing was just divine timing, and it all just came together. And that's how I got into this, by saying to people all the time, why does everyone not know this stuff? Why does everyone not know? Everyone should know this. And relationships are everything. They're everything. I use the love languages with my teenagers. You can do it from your children are 4 years old. This idea of finding someone else to complete you has to go. It has to go. You are complete and awesome and everything. Yourself. And then you bring that greatness to someone else, and you choose to journey your life with them, and you keep choosing them every day.
That's what's really refreshing, actually, to hear you say, because I know a lot of people who will be listening are not necessarily in a relationship. So they'll be like, oh, well, what's a relationship coach how's that going to help me? But I am absolutely with you in that. I'm sure you know Matthew Hussey, isn't he? Maybe you should look him up. If not, yes. I'll send you. You'll like. So he's the relationship coach as well. But I still watch his videos, because a lot of them are just about communication and about being whole in yourself, and not letting yourself be defined by that person. What would you say to people then, if they were listening and they were thinking about, maybe they're not 23 anymore, and they're older and they're on their own? I really liked it. It was Little Penny Thoughts, I know you know. She had put up a really cool video the other day, and it was, one of the TikToks, and it said, expectations for someone of my age or something like that, should be married, own a house, do whatever. I don't know if it's a Northern Irish thing, but these pigeonholes, I think a lot of the reason why I struggled myself, even when I was married and had the boys, but didn't really have a career, was I was like, I don't tick every box the way people do. But what would you say to people today who think, well, I can't even think about relationships because I'm on my own? But I'm assuming you're going to say something about having a relationship with yourself, but I'll leave that.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a relationship with yourself. I mean, who wrote these friggin' rules? Who wrote these rules? Some man in the 1400s wrote these rules. You do you, mate. You do you. Because you know what else? No one else can do you. You're brought here, your gifts. I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert said that the universe's biggest trick is to hide gems inside of us. And our life's work is to find those gems. So when I was younger, my gem was raising my children and working part-time. That was my purpose, absolutely my purpose. And then as I got older, I knew I needed a different purpose. But don't let your purpose be something someone's told you it has to be. Find your purpose. I have a brother and sister-in-law who have chosen not to have children. Awesome. They're living their best life. And she still gets pressure. Oh, Gwen, just stop it. Live your best life. Live your best life. And when we're living our best life, we attract the right people to us. When you are living authentically in your truth, in your greatness, you'll attract the right people towards you. You'll absolutely attract the right people.
And what would you say about, social media? Obviously, you and I both have grown our businesses on social media, so there's so many good things about it. So social media, but even right before social media, magazines, messaging, relationships, there's always, the grass is always greener. What would you say about that? People chasing for money and different things. Like, how do you feel like we have been, like, the messaging has been, because you're saying, like, who wrote that?
Yeah.
Because it feels like people like you and Bill Penny Thoughts, and even me when I do I'm going to start calling it my post-run message, because I've always talked about well-being, but it's now I just feel so sure every week I want to share this thing. And I remember a psychologist writing a very aggressive email to me and saying, like, who do you think you are, and blah blah blah. And
because I will actually crumble into that, my red tea, and just be like, never come out again.
Yes. Well, do you know what? It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because that's what you're saying about just a thought. And I would even drop the just personally, because I think just sometimes takes people away, but that's just me. Just me. But I thought, but you safeguard yourself a little bit too, because I can see that with me. I would say, look, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but I want to share this with you, because we actually warm to human beings and warm to that. What would you say about all that messaging of striving for more, being more, but actually people like you and I who are in the nitty gritty and are just like, feck it, I want to be authentic now. Like, I want to.
And our stories are so awesome on Instagram, and they're so well put together. Ellen, your story cracks me up.
Oh, sorry, you mean about us? I know we're the opposite of that. Yeah, there's very little.
Well, I'll tell you this wee story. When my girls were wee, I had a magazine just lying here, like Bella or something, I can't remember what it was. And one of them picked it up and said, "Oh, Mummy, look at da." And the way that they saw it wasn't even what I saw, because I was a grown up. I didn't see it, what they saw. And that was it. I never had a magazine in the house again. Never had any glossy mag ever in the house. The only time they saw them was at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
Never had another one again, because I do think we have to protect ourselves. We protect ourselves from toxic people all the time, but we must remember that your Instagram feed, your Facebook feed is like inviting someone to sit on the settee beside you. We must cull the people that we did not like in school, who just are not our people. Doesn't make them bad people. They're just not our people. We must cull. We must make our Facebook page and our Instagram page a happy place, an inspirational place, a place that brings us joy and happiness and a laugh, an absolute laugh.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I guess you can not buy the magazine, but I suppose with the kids nowadays and all of that, it's like just trying to educate them. I guess that's relationships again, is it? About having relationships, healthy relationship with your kids, telling them that they still want the happy people there, rather than.
It's about having the confidence to say, this isn't good for me.
Yeah.
My big girl deleted TikTok. She was like, I'm studying. I cannot have TikTok on
my. So did my goddaughter, and I said, "Oh, did your mom?" And she said, "No, I was on there too much." How cool that kids actually have the wisdom to
know that,
to know the exhaustion of the vacuum.
The exhaustion.
And what would you say about relationships and work then? So you've employees that are in their other work then too. So that, do you feel like all of the coaching now you can apply to that?
Yes, that's how I started. That's where I started. And I think one of the biggest lessons for me when I did my life coaching course was limiting beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves in our head that just aren't even true. But also a big, huge thing was that not everybody is for everybody. And it doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make you a bad person. But I spent years trying to morph and change into some version of what the people in church wanted me to be, and what this group of people wanted me to be, and what that group of, and dialing myself down, dialing myself back for years and years, because I was too much. And it wasn't till I became authentically myself and unashamedly this much that my tribe came.
Yeah. I remember talking to you when you kindly invited me on a live with you, and I was talking about I get sort of embarrassed about a couple of years ago when Michael and I were going through a bit of a rough patch, and I'm trying not. You had a really good line. You said something about you didn't know. You can't have shame around that when you didn't know. Now I'm annoyed at myself for not researching a bit more or being a bit more, but then I suppose you just
do what's your family of origin.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what comes from your family of origin. And when you didn't know, you can't blame yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. That would be like telling a toddler that they were in trouble because they were using nappy or diapers instead of using the bathroom. We just didn't know.
But isn't it amazing how you still get through daylight? It wasn't anything massive. It was just we weren't. And that's, I'm sure people will be like, when did that happen? I guess you mask all of these things. These things happen. But I do think, how did we not? I actually think the pandemic's been better for our communication because we were all shoved in under the same roof. And that idea of the kind of guilt and shame, so I can let things eat me up a little bit. So like that can eat me up. Or then, you said about toxic people, something happened like in the last year for me. And I'm still really sad that person doesn't like me and like actively says it. But like, how do you what would you give your tips and tools for just like letting that? Because if that was you saying to me, I'd be like, you need to stop. This is eating into your day. This is eating into your happiness. This is one life, live it, doesn't matter. But those things do eat into.
So a few things. We have to grieve. Okay. There's 5 stages of grief. And I know that you know grief well. So anger, disbelief, bargaining, sadness. So you might still just be in sadness, and that's okay.
That makes sense.
Absolutely okay. And before Elise came along, I had numerous miscarriages, and I was annoyed with myself because I wasn't getting over it. I was just like, right, okay, I need to get back to work. I need to do it. And a very lovely friend who actually made me do the life coaching course, so I owe her a lot of gratitude, said, do you want to be the sort of person who gets over this in a week? No, we don't want to be those sort of people. We want to be sad. We want to grieve. And then we come to acceptance and we see how maybe this is actually a favor in disguise, this friendship falling down. The next part is that we have to accept that these things happen in life and everybody is not going to like us forever. And lots of friendships are for a season. They're for a season. They're not forever. They're not forever.
And I would be the first to say that as well. It's just really interesting. Say as I do, not as I. Say do as I say, not as I do. Isn't that sometimes what I'm thinking?
And your automatic negative thoughts. So you have your automatic negative thoughts. So we call those Shirley. So Shirley will come along and say, could you have done more, Ali?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have done more. Do you think maybe you should text again? Or maybe you should send flowers. Have you really done enough?
Yeah.
We have to identify those. That's just your ego, your inner child, your inner critic. And you say, thank you for your advice, but I'm safe now.
Yeah.
I'm safe. I'm an adult. I've done all the adulting I can do. We're going to move on now. Let me take your hand and we're going to move on now.
Yeah. I actually listened to a really good thing about pride. You're talking about ego there, and it was talking about, pride is the big thing with all of us, because you're too proud to walk away, but then you don't want to be too proud to walk away because you go through it. And also who was really good for me, and I know for you as well, was Lee from My Wellbeing Pal. And I talk about things being in line in the universe, and you're saying there about the timing of everything for you. But even those things happening in relationship, friendships, you can see how they're connected, and even actually before that thing happened with that person, I actually had a feeling of how will this crumble? This is going to crumble sometime. How will it? So it's amazing how those things are
Well, I'll tell you how all this has come to full circle.
Mm-hmm.
So we stopped going to church when when the big girls were just teenager, because there just wasn't anything at our church for them. So we were basically going and they were playing on their phones, and I was like, this is no good. So then I continued to go myself, and it just got to be, and I also started to disagree with some things that were being taught. And anyway, that's by the by. So, but I'm a minister's daughter. So church and that tribe were like, if you didn't have that in your life, we stopped going as a family, but I listened to podcasts, listened to things that inspired me, and probably, maybe slightly more forward thinking things. And I was out for coffee with our friend, Julie McDowell.
Yes, right.
All come full circle.
Small world.
And I said, oh, I'm just so lost. And I miss the structure, and I just miss and I'd always been involved in mothers and toddlers and all the things. And she said, I have a girl I've been to a couple of times. Her name is Lee. Maybe you should go. Well, I went, and the first time I thought, oh my days, I am going to be going to hell in a handbag if I go into this girl. Like, this is just like so far out of my comfort zone. I have no idea. But what came out of my mouth was, fix me, sort it out. There's so much more out here that I have no concept of. Go, hit me. I want everything. And dear lover, she said, okay, that's not really how it works, but we'll start here. So I went to Lee, and just opened my eyes to a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of gratitude and universe, and
faith as well. For me, I still feel a faith is there in it, and I would be the same. I guess I'm similar thinking.
And I think somewhere along the line, maybe the God I was taught in church was always a little bit too small. Where the way I look at it now, and when I look at this divine timing, it's just so much more immense, so much more immense.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And did you start a podcast yet? Did you start your podcast?
No.
Sorry, I'm whoopsie. You'll get there. If you can get all the recordings of the many things you've done, all you need to do is put them onto it.
Secret. I'm going to try to get Nigel to do it with me.
Oh yeah, very good.
That'd be excellent.
My Michael was meant to be on this hindsight series. So you've just reminded me of that, because he keeps saying, "Do you not want me on there?" Even though, like, he'd said, "Oh no,
do we extra?"
Yeah, a bonus episode.
Love
him telling me that. So this are they talking about that's not learned behavior, but you're talking about as if in relationships you sort of mimic what you, maybe I'm taking the words out of your mouth, but I know we talked about this in yours, but for me, in my relationship with Michael, I can see how his dad was a professional sportsman, so was away quite a lot with that. So his mum is unreal, like can just do, like, could feed 20 people in a second, but could also do the washing, and so it was very much like hands-on. My mum was on her own, so I don't remember dad being there, and the time that dad, because I was so young, the time that dad was there, I remember him just in a wheelchair and then in the bedroom, just in bed. So I have very vague memories of him being around, but I certainly don't remember them engaging conversations. I'm always asking her now, when I'm giving off about Michael, and she just sort of smiles and tries to, because she loves Michael to bits. But what happened then for us was I would be this, so defensive as well, but I would have been shouty and loud. Michael got into himself, and I know I discussed this with you and yours, probably valuable to talk about it, but that over Christmas time, there was a box with one of the boys stood and wrecked the box. The Christmas tree came in, and I said, the box is fine. And Mike said, the box is not fine. And then this erupted into this full scale, I don't know, and he then left. But my Michael likes to fight or flight. He'll fly. He always jokes that you'll never come to him in a playground. Like, don't be asking him to stand up for you. But I know that now. I can laugh about that now. But at the time, I was like, you just go. I was like angry because I was like, my mom did it and I can do it on my own, blah, blah, blah. The boys were big and they knew and they were distraught. So we're up until 3 a.m. talking about it. And I realized that because dad died, and then my uncle kind of stepped in the role, and then he killed himself when I was 17. And then, so there was this, I guess, men leaving me. That was the only way I could. So Michael said, why'd you never step forward? I've never realized that that's what it is. What would you say on all of that?
Absolutely. And you're so self-aware.
No, I am, but that's taken me to 30. That was 30, well, 37 this year, 38 now.
But lots of people need to come to a coach, and a coach say, so Ali, why did you freak out? Sure, he was just saying he was going a walk. Why was that so big for you, Ali? Sometimes people need a third party to say, okay, or lots of people do this thing where they're telling, and then you see, and then I'll stop and I'll go, okay, let's just push into that little part a second. What were you saying about your such and such? Now, the difference between coaching and counseling is coaching is about, okay, that happened for you, Ali. So next time if it happens, you just recognize that in yourself and you say, he's not going to leave. He just needs 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. In coaching, we don't go into we can all do this sort of thing ourselves, but in coaching, we don't go into the why this happened, that happened, this other happened. We just go, right, okay, that's not working. So what can we put in place? What can we put in place? And lots of people come to a coach at first, and then they say, okay, I have a lot more to dig into here. And I'll say, that's perfect. Maybe you need to go as individuals to a counselor and dig into some of your, I hate damage, but shadow work, maybe.
Shadow work.
Dig into that in the shadow work, or your inner child work, which I did a lot of that with Lee.
Same.
Absolutely. Can we say how exhausting it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Exhausting.
But amazing. Affirmative. So many words I could put with that.
I used to have, I could just feel the temper rising in me. When I went to Lee, she took me right back to the very first time I felt that. And it was the most ridiculous thing. It was like my dad, we were training with a new pup, and my dad was training the pup, and my dad put the pup in a box like you would do with a pup. And I went ballistic. And as a grown up now on the other side, I can see that my dad was just doing what he knew to do with pups, and it was like, oh, so when that comes up for me, that's all that 7-year-old wee girl going, don't put the pup in a box. Right. I can fix that. That I can work with, exhausting, but so freeing, so freeing. So if anybody's having issues like that, absolutely look, get into it, get right into it.
And then, so for the coaching bit, then you would be, so that would be me telling you that. And then do you take if it's the other partner, so say it's male or female partner, then do they do they share the experiences with you? Is that what?
Yes. And most of the time it is that you will not shout and scream in front of someone. So most times I'll get messages afterwards that will say, I can't believe that they said this. That was so open of them. And I'll be like, I know. That's what happens, because you take the fear of basically getting into trouble away from it. You take
yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense to me, because even if you're in your own house and you're shouting at each other, you just think, oh, here comes the consequences. Whereas I suppose with you, is it like a landing pad or something?
Yeah. And it's just me going, okay, no, it's okay. I got this. And then we'll go back to, let's just say Michael, and I'll go, so Michael, go ahead, continue there. And usually the other person's, and I'm like, your tongue will be fine. You're biting the chin off, you're biting the cheek off yourself at the minute, but it's all going to be fine. You're going to get your turn. Don't panic. And then usually by the time the other person gets their turn, the male or female have talked enough about it so the other can see where they're coming from. Because usually when we're in disagreements, we're just so fixated on getting our say so in next. We don't actually actively listen. And in coaching, you're almost forced to actively listen to the person. Active listening, holding space for someone, is the most precious thing you can do. Imagine yourself with duct tape across your mouth while your person is speaking, and actually hear what they're saying. Just a couple of weeks ago, Nigel came home and he was saying something about somebody, about work, and I said, do you know what maybe you should do? And he said, what about you just hold space? Well, I was like, yep. Holding space. It's like when you hear your own words coming back at you, it's not pleasant, you know?
I know, you're like, what?
Yeah. Ego had to have a good talking to. Calm the frig down.
Yeah.
You're fine. He's absolutely right. You just need to hold space. This is actually how I talk to myself in my head.
That's
Sorry.
all right. I'm the same. That's what I'm not going to walk. Yeah.
Stop it. That's enough from you. Thank you very much. We're listening to the man who we love, who is very kind to us, who respects us, who loves us, who cares for us. We're listening to this person right now. Sweetheart, go ahead.
So we were discussing there before about social media and magazines and things, right? If you bring that to relationships, maybe this is very flippant of me, right? And I know you were saying that you and Nigel were the two that were, happy go lucky, very happy. I refuse to believe that someone has a perfect relationship. Is that a fair comment to?
Yeah.
And it's so annoying, sorry to interrupt you, but the amount of people who I know are miserable because they compare themselves to someone who they see online, who they think is happy. You're like, bullshit. Like,
absolutely. What is it?
Is that fair? Am I just being very aggressive there? But
what is a perfect relationship? What is a perfect relationship? Yeah, I would say there could be perfect arguments. There could be ways to argue and discuss things in a very healthy way, but perfect relationship, what is perfect? And perfect for one person is not be perfect for the other person. You know, Nige is quite laid back and I'm mental. That wouldn't be perfect for someone else. Yeah. That's not perfect. That can't be a perfect thing. If it's working for you guys, I could come in and observe you and Michael's relationship, think that's great. They're brilliant, but it wouldn't be what I would want. Yeah. That's perfect. That's grand. Nigel and I, our love language, everybody has to do their love language test. Our love language is time. But we spend a lot of time together. But other people, their love language is not time. That wouldn't work for me, but it works perfectly for them. Just depends. No, there's no perfect. And we have to you're so vulnerable, Ali, and you're so good at saying about that Christmas thing and everything. It happened to us. Our last sort of big row was, in the grey area of lockdown.
I'm saying summer? Was that in the summer?
Yeah. You know that when the teenagers were kind of allowed out.
Bit of a lull. Yeah.
One of our girls decided to go, was just announced she was going to a hot tub. Well, I thought Nigel's head was going to explode. And it was one of those ones where I was like trying to get the words back in the genie in the box, that way. And I was just like, just you go on outside, to my teenager. I was like, just go, it's fine. I'll sort this out with your daddy. And he was like, and same as Michael, that's it. I'm away. But I knew he didn't mean away. But in the past, we went out on his bike for like 3 miles, came back with his tail between his legs and said, yeah, that didn't go well. And I said, no, sweetheart, that didn't go well. But in the past, Ali, that would have made me huff. I would have huffed for 4 or 5 days about that behavior, ridiculous behavior. How dare you get on like that? So he came back in. I said, that didn't go too well, sweetheart. And he said, no, will we talk about it now? And I said, let's talk about it now. Like grown-ups, not like teenagers throwing their toys out of the pram. Yeah. But
you're not delighted with yourself. You're not like, is someone not watching how good my relationship is right now? Where's the camera to see how we've just nailed this?
And then I will say afterwards, how good was I, Nigel? Nigel, how good was I? How awesome was I? Nigel goes, it takes it all away. And I'm like, surely that can't be a real thing, Nigel. I think I was awesome. I think I was.
Self-praise is no praise at all. Isn't that it? But you'll take it anyway.
But don't worry, about 3 weekends ago, maybe we should all do this. Maybe we should just do a live sometime and tell everybody all the arguments we've had. About 3 weeks ago, we had a silly argument about something, just difference of opinion. And it was fine. It was like, fine, whatever. And I was like, whatever. Next morning, Nige goes, do you know what? Sorry about that. That was just a silly thing. Let's have a nice day. Now, wouldn't that be a lovely bow? That's a lovely.
That would be, yes, exactly.
Oh no.
Oh no, right.
Oh no. Lisa decided that, someone inside of this person, somewhere inside this knowledgeable person, decided that was not what we were going to do. That they decided to say, well, really, you see, what we should have said was, and and lecture ensued. This is my programming, because when I was a teenager, when you apologize to my mum, She took that as the time to start the lecture. So you would say, I'm sorry that I lied, or I'm sorry I didn't ring back, or I'm sorry that I was half an hour late. And she would take that vulnerability as the time to lecture.
Yeah.
And then I would huff.
Yeah.
So guess what happened? I took that opportunity to lecture, and guess what happened? Nigel said, I'm away to clean the cars. Have at it. Hope you have a nice Saturday.
Yeah.
And so then I had to sit with it. I actually had to meditate, and I just was like, Lisa, what is going on here? This is just not healthy behavior. I sat, put the meditation music on, had to sit, had to have a good talk to myself. And I came to the answer, and then I had to go and apologize.
I know, isn't it? It's hard. The only thing is, I wonder if both of us have quite a thirst for life. I would say we definitely see it, as you were discussing off air about your friend who had cancer. Survived cancer, and I think just having lost daddy, and then my cousin there recently, she was 41 to cancer, and just, I don't know, it's my argument often with Michael when he's a bit grumpy is, whatever really happened, you know, what's wrong with your life? Your life is great. Why are you such a grump? But he then is just saying recently, it must have been actually the weekend, because we see it in our oldest too, you know, it's like this, they're just a bit grumpy.
I have a tool for you for that.
To walk away, let him be grumpy.
we tiny
Knock
bit.
him out, no.
So and it happens to us all. So it happens to us all, but it does happen. It seems to happen, guys, more than it seems to happen masculine more than the feminine. I talk about masculine and feminine energies rather than males and females. So sometimes the masculine can be need a bit more time in their cave sometimes, and stress and anxiety, and they genuinely do not know what it is. They cannot. The feminine can be quite articulate, and I know exactly what's wrong, and I know that. And sometimes the masculine cannot actually even know. So this can show up in women as well.
Yeah.
As a masculine trait, if you know what I mean. So I just took a photograph. So they need time. So a little tool to use is seeing them in their distance, grumpiness, whatever we want to call it, as seeing that in a little bit of fear. Seeing that in a little bit of fear and stress, okay? And when we come at them, Ali, with what's ever happened to you in your life, you've nothing to be grumpy with. Now we have two people in fear, and I have my hands up in the air right now. Two people in fear, and then it's like all this energy up here. If we come to that person in vulnerability and we say, so can you give me a number for how you're feeling today? And 10's the best I've ever felt, one's the worst. And they might say, oh, well, like a 4. And then you say, can you give me a word to describe how you're feeling? And they say, bleh, stressed. I feel angry, but I don't know what I'm angry about. All those things. This is the key, Ali. And this is what I didn't do for 26 years. I'm here for you when you need me. And then you just go and you do your painting.
Just make the fucking eggs, go and make the joking.
Yep.
Do you know, I'm actually much better at that with the oldest who I've seen. And I think Michael actually pointed that out to me, was you've much more empathy, you know, I'll say to him, and he is quite good at articulate, but he'll say things like, I don't even know what's wrong with me. And I guess that's hormones.
But Ali, here's the thing. Your teenager hasn't been doing it to you for as long as Michael.
I know. True. And he doesn't have as many jobs they want done around, you know, the recycling. Didn't we talk about that? Michael likes the recycling. Even if he doesn't, he has to do the recycling.
Yeah, we leave a nice pile beside the printer for Nigel to recycle, because we find that everybody, we're trying to do better. But yeah, it's that, it just, and sometimes relationships can become tiring because we've been doing it a long time, and we just need to make sure we come at them fresh and rejuvenated, and that we're both doing the work. I'm very fortunate, and you are as well, to be with a man who, there's nothing sexier than a man doing the inner work. You know, they may screw up, they may mess up, but there's nothing sexier than a man doing the work, coming along on this mad journey with us. Because you and I, we're the visionaries, and we have these beautiful men who support us, which is awesome.
It is.
Which is awesome. Nigel, sometimes we're watching a movie and he's like, look at her, she's so cool. Look at her. And I'm like, really? Until you're with her 31 years? Are they really cool?
Oh, that's so great as well to hear about, even just with the, you know, that idea of approaching thing. I suppose just going back to the richness of life, I guess you never regret those bit more gentler approaches than the shouting is tiring as well.
Yeah, it is.
Or the shouting and the grumping, and that you do think, oh,
but it initially feels so good because it releases dopamine.
Yeah. I actually stay with our third as well. So Lisa Strutt, I don't know if you know Lisa Strutt. I think you would actually really like her. She is a coach. It's a professional coach, but I painted. She has a couple of paintings of mine, and one of them was for her husband who sadly passed away. But they as a ratio, their class, right? Brilliant. And she put up it's Cancer Fund for Children. She wrote a blog post about it, and she shared it just yesterday or the day before on Twitter. And I actually wasn't even thinking about having you on today, but I relayed it to Michael, and she said something like, my family looks very different a year on from when I wrote this, but it remains the same. Invest in the relationships in each person in your family. And Michael and I were talking about that last night, because our third born, he pulls his own hair out. And has done for me 6 months. He turns 5 on Friday, and it's now getting just like everybody notices, and we're trying with it harder. But I find it very exhausting because he is in play therapy. But we were saying last night, like how with each of the boys, it's very easy now. They're back to football and cricket, and to sort of throw them out there. But investing in relationships, I'm sure you would agree with that.
100%. We get out what we put in. We get out what we put in. And we're very good at doing it at our jobs. We know at our jobs.
It's true.
Get out what we put in. You know that you have to dedicate time to a painting. You probably know the ones that you were like, should have went over. I'm sure you don't have any like that else.
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
We dedicate the time to that, and the more time we can dedicate to our children, to our relationships, to ourself, Ali, filling our own cup first. When are you the best mum? When are you the best wife? When you feel great about yourself. When you know Ali is bringing her A game. So we have to have a morning routine. We have to have things that are non-negotiables, whether that's going for your run, putting your feet in the sea, cold water dipping, seeing your friends once a week. And through COVID, that's why we've really, really struggled, because those things that we had in place, just by accident almost, were taken from us. And it turns out they were our non-negotiables. And men are struggling with this worse than women, I feel, because women are always quite good at putting in little bits. And Michael sounds very much like Nigel. We would go out once every 6 weeks with our friends, and that was great for Nigel, and that was all he needed. And then but I was like, I'll see Julie here, and as though I was little bits, and we have managed to do that with little social distancing walks and runs, and even Zoom calls and podcasts. But men have had that stripped from them, and they have found it very, very difficult. And a lot of men have then become very codependent on their partner, and that can be suffocating.
Yeah,
that can be suffocating. Last thing that the pandemic
is. Yes, I know. I'll not keep you much longer. It's been so.
No, well, flip me. I talk all day. Another thing the pandemic has stolen from us is a thing called the third. So it's the distance that needs to live between couples. Love lives in closeness and connection. Desire for each other and sex and intimacy lives in the distance. Okay. So when has Michael been the sexiest to you? When does he play football? What does he do?
He was cutting logs the other week, and it was the best I've seen him in a long time.
Exactly.
I came in and he was in it because I love camp, camp treetops up in the Adirondack Mountains, and we love all of that kind of outdoors. He was like a lumberjack.
Exactly. And a big hoodie. I could see.
But yeah, sport. Yeah, he's very talented, cricket and hockey, yeah.
So when you see your person doing their thing, absolutely doing her thing. I was doing a podcast with my friend. I call her from my friend, Sinead Haig, and Nigel was hovering here at the sliding doors. And I said to him, I was like, okay, that wasn't off-putting or anything. I was like, what are you doing? He goes, you just come in there and I took a picture as well. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm watching you do your thing because it is sexy.
Oh,
you know?
We go.
And that it's sexy and attractive to see your person cutting logs, to see them being playing the guitar, to see that maybe we were with people who were in a band, or maybe, and even when it comes to our kids, my girls play netball, and Lara with her art. She's going to be, Lara's going to be Ali Hart when she grows up.
Oh,
And
really is very talented.
Sometimes the stuff comes up, I'm like, it's Lara's, as Ali. You know,
So that was stripped, all of that.
Yeah, even to see them playing netball, your heart is alive for them. Your heart's alive. You're so proud. It lights you up. That has been taken. And we need to get that back in place, even if that's playing up the backfield cricket or whatever it is. If we can't go back to big, huge things, whatever it is, we have to put that back in place. Because when the pandemic started, we thought, oh, we're all on holiday in Barbados. This is awesome. No, we have to get that distance piece put back into place.
Right,
that piece could be when you're out for dinner with your friends and then you see your person away over at another table. Oh, haven't seen you for ages. How are you? Just to see that person interact socially with other people, and you go, that's my guy. That's my man. That's my girl. Look at her.
Whereas instead we've all just been in sweatpants, like lounging. Michael, the best Michael did was last year when he had meetings. So he's teacher, but he's senior teacher, so they weren't teaching. Remember that lull when teachers anyway, that's a whole other podcast. But he did have meetings every day. So he used to have like, you know, just like boxers on here. And the best was one day whenever Abraham and the dog were both under the bed because because he had to like just sit on the bed because I was using the studio. So but yeah, we thankfully, praise the Lord, we're a little bit further on.
Another little thing you can do is, this is really out there, is on these walks that we have to all go on, you can pretend not to know each other. Pretend to bump into each other. I haven't seen you since uni. How are you? Or Annette from Little Penny thought she does this too, but she does it with her sister in Tesco's. I haven't seen you for ages. It just brings a little bit of spice to life.
Changes the conversation, doesn't it?
Just lights us up a wee bit.
Yeah, brilliant. We did actually 25 days with no, my Michael didn't, because we're just differently wired. I had it in my head. I was doing 28 days, did 25. He did 19, I think. But that was really good for us too, actually, because even there was no badness associated with alcohol, but it was a habit. And it was only at the weekends, but it was a habit. And Michael was like, you're so dramatic. You don't know why you're doing this. I said, I can do this on my own. But even that was really good for us, because there was, you know, Saturday night, tonight we'll just go for another walk at 8 o'clock, because we're not going to sit by the fire and have but then you have these better conversations, and the relationship was good. So what about, just that back to you again then, what hopes and dreams do you have for relationship coaching, Anna?
I will not rest until relationship coaching is a normal thing.
Better never quits.
No, absolutely.
Very good.
And I watched a thing.
Just normalizing it, basically, aren't you?
I will never be the smartest person in the room. I will never be that person, but I will have the most passion. I know I have the most passion. I will not quit until it's okay to be sitting in Starbucks at least reading a relationship book. I will not quit until it's okay to say, oh, I'm going to some training on emotional attachment, or I'm going for some training on argument styles, or I'm going do a webinar on. Not everybody has to come to coaching. No problem. If you want to come and get a little bit of one-to-one coaching, awesome. And eventually, when that's a normal thing, that'll be great. But that's a normal thing. And my way to have that happen is, 1, to be on the radio, 2, to be on Loose Women or This Morning. That's where we're going.
Oh my word, I feel like that would be,
and they never know.
Now.
We may end up under Oprah's Oaks. You never know. And it's not about me. It's about making it normal. You're making it normal, Ali, because you're saying about stepping on Christmas tree boxes. I'm making it normal. We have to take the guilt and shame out of this. Anywhere in life where guilt and shame lives, bad. We must shine a light. And when we shine our God-given light on guilt and shame, it just disappears.
Yeah, fab. Thank you for that. And lastly, are you reading anything? Elizabeth Gilbert we were talking about her yesterday. She's big magic too, isn't she?
Yeah, she's Eat, Pray, Love, the movie, which I absolutely don't. I have this daily stoic every day.
Daily stoic. Okay, great.
I've just finished The Honeymoon Effect, but really good. Really, I think guys would actually like The Honeymoon Effect. Quite scientific.
Right.
And I'm reading at the minute. Flipsy.
Any fluff?
Oh no, I don't do fluff. No. No. See, I tell people I'm a bad reader because I'm dyslexic. You see, I'm dyslexic, and I tell people I'm a bad reader. But it turns out I have 3 books on the go at any one time. I'm reading Surrounded by Idiots at the minute, so it's fascinating. We all get a color. I'm showing Ali the book right now. We all get a color. You and I are yellows.
Okay.
You and I are yellows, but then it tells you who you're compatible with.
That's very cool.
I'm excited.
I like that. What's it called?
Surrounded by Idiots.
Surrounded by Idiots, right? Brilliant.
And then I'm reading I always have something Brené Brown.
She's great. Yeah. Her leadership one is very good. Just when you're talking about relationships too, I'm constantly trying to work on being a leader for my team as well. And just when you were saying there about checking in with people and asking them how they are, I'm really good at that with work. I always say at the end, do you need anything? What can I need? But I'm not good at that in my home. So I'm going to work on that with my boys.
Because it's tiring at home. And when you say that at the end of the day, you get to shut down from that.
Yeah.
But in your own home, it's constant. It's
a story? No.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have to fill our own cup.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. It was so great to have you. Where can people find you? What have you coming up? You were talking about your webinar before we come on. Have you any more of those coming up?
I just did a couples webinar that last month. So I have a little private group. It's £16 a month to be in my Facebook group. And I go on there and talk about all the things. And then if you're in there, you get webinars and stuff for free. And I have special guests come in there. Maybe we'll have you come on, Ali, and do a wee chat about finding your artistic side or something. Yes. So I had a girl come in and do inner child work last month. I'm having a well-being person come in next month. But you'll find me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. Relationship.coaching.ni. So everything will be on there on Instagram. And then I'm doing a webinar in May for 19 to 29-year-olds. All the things I wish I had known.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. I can go on that one for you now. I can help you with that. Those were my foggy years. Oh, that's super. Brilliant. Anyway, thank you for that. And people can find you on Instagram. So you are at
relationship.coaching.ni. And then everything else that I do is on there, and I blather about it all the time. So
brilliant. Keep doing you, keep being, and keep inspiring. Thank you for your time today.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. And thank you everybody for listening. I look forward to little snippets now. Maybe I'll get my Michael on actually. We'll do a bonus episode too.
I think that has to be done.
So you can hear how up and down I am and how he's like still
you are actually Nigel and I. You actually are Nigel and I.
That's why it works. But thank you for listening and watching, and please subscribe so you continue to get these into your ears and on your screens, and I will see you on the other side. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the episode, I would really appreciate some feedback, or for you to hit subscribe so that you get all the content every week in your inbox. And if you would like to check out my website, it's alihart.com, especially if you were thinking about needing some mentoring sessions, because I have openings coming up in the summer. Thanks for watching and listening, and I will see you on the other side.